Man, scriptures.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the FS On Air podcast with your hosts, Darth Proteus, and my fellow co-host, Jornk Lockett.
What's up?
And today we have a very special guest to talk about some things. He's been on here before. Welcome back, Mac the Milkman.
Hi, I'm Mac the Milkman.
Oh my god, it's really him.
That's right.
It really is him. Yes, he is.
It's my first episode with him.
Oh yeah, that's true. The last time we had one, Flash was still here. God bless his soul.
Ah, yes, that is true.
And
Here, I got
sometimes it's like I can still hear his voice.
I mentioned this before to you guys, but I'm smoking a special Cuban cigar in honor of this momentous occasion.
He's smoking the same one Mr. Marcus Sony has.
Indeed.
Awesome. And before we get to today's topic of conversation, I think it would be a good idea to talk about what's changed since the last episode, because the last episode was actually sitting in the archives for a month until we were able to get out, because all of us have been pretty busy this semester, what with, that's that college life and all. So let's get into the recap of what's happened since, shall we? Why don't you start us off with that, Jornk?
Oh yes, the recap. It appears it is time for me to do my job. Well, so big update coming in. Big update alert. TMNT and Rogue War have wrapped up, and to add on to that, Mr. Miracle very close to wrapping up.
Surprisingly, it's kind of incredible how close we are to that, but don't go anywhere yet. The finale will blow your minds.
And our last piece of recap news is the Fast Times in LA has had its first episode finished.
It's just finished that last week, and although there might not be an episode the week that we're recording right now, there should be another one very soon. I know Roos has already written a couple of episodes. They're in the pipeline, so they should be coming out very soon. And we can't wait for you to see them. But anyway, yeah, that's a little short recap. Things still going pretty smoothly so far. Looking forward to the future of the server community. And of course, today we're talking about our latest project from Mac the Milkman, Doctor Strange. Why don't you go ahead and start telling us just what the first thing let me just ask, what inspired you to make a project about Doctor Strange specifically? Out of every character in the Marvel Universe you could have chosen, after Inferior Foes, the first one you thought of was Doctor Strange.
Well, this has a decently long story that dates all the way back to before Amazing Fantasy.
Oh.
So,
really?
Before we had the MFSU, I was always tossing around ideas, and one of them was this idea called Fantastically Strange, which was a Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four crossover project. This is before the Fantastic Four project was a thing, so that's why I did it. And at this time, reading the initial... I only read about the first 2 issues of New Doctor Strange. Something, if you could tell if you read it, I have not read a single issue of Doctor Strange. I know next to nothing about the character. I know none of these characters. In fact, I actually just learned the other day that one of the characters I included only appeared in the background of one of them. He's one of the major characters. So, I just literally took a list of characters and I plucked them and I gave them roles in the story that I thought fit what they looked like. So, I was working on that and I got a bit. It was never really approved. I think I barely told Spider about it. But then it was like announced Fantastic Four project, and I was like, "Wow, I have to put that away."
Yeah, I'm sorry if I stepped on your toes there. I probably told the story about it before, but I had never intended to publicly speak about that until it was done and we were ready to officially announce it to everybody. But a certain user that I'm not going to refer to by name had not so secretly announced on main, because this was unfortunately common at the time for people to do the whole working on a project so secret, even the executive don't know about it kind of deal. And they were saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do Fantastic Four, it's going to be an adaptation of Fantastic Four Reign. And Spider notifying about it. It's like, hey, we've been working on this. They're already talking about this. And I'm just like, oh, hell. So I just
I
went up into the chat and I was like, yeah, no, Yeah, sorry about that. Hate to break it to you, but I'm kind of already working on the official one. So I hope I didn't burst your bubble by doing that or anything.
Well, no, because I mentioned this, I'm not going to bring it up now, but I have my own idea for a different interpretation of the Fantastic Four. But really, this whole idea stayed dormant. No, I had it, I guess, I was going to say 3 years, but it's been nearly 3 years past. And every night, not every night, but normally, probably every other night, me, Noah, Chucky, and Flash, and maybe Looney occasionally, we'll have like we'll VC together. We'll talk. We'll talk about our lives and fan scripture, just different things. It's something to relax at the end of the day. And we're talking, and Noah brings up that he was interested in doing a Doctor Strange project. And I was like, hey, I wanted to do a Doctor Strange project. And he's like, oh, well, why don't we work on one together? And I believe it might have been either that night or the night after, I just plopped right in. I was like, oh, hey, everyone. So at first, the Doctor Strange project was a collaboration between me and Noah. It soon became apparent that Noah already had a lot on his plate. And me and him, I don't know, we had very different visions. Because originally Doctor Strange was not going to be as strange as it is. Originally, it was going to be more of a straightforward retelling of the comics. And then I realized, like, man, these comics are boring. And I kept thinking, like, wouldn't it be interesting if this character was just a massive prick? What if this character was just absolutely batshit insane? What if Dracula was just like their neighbor for some weird reason?
Well, I can certainly see why you'd want to do that, because while I think that the character certainly got more interesting later on, even like hardcore Marvel fans, a lot of them find his like early comics to be fairly convoluted, even by early 1960s comic standards. So I can understand why, say, for the example, the MCU just decided to basically reskin Iron Man for his origin to make it less difficult to tell the story.
Yeah. And of course, R has if you haven't read it yet, we have a very funny backstory for why Doctor Strange has his powers. And I think,
Indeed.
And something that I want to bring up before I continue on, and please interrupt me if I go on too long of tangents.
No problem.
Whether or not this was originally supposed, because it's not a shitpost project, I don't like to think, because it's enough grounded with enough non-shitposting material that I think it still counts as an effort. Because I don't want it to be a shitposty project. I want it to be like seen as a screwball comedy.
Right. I can totally see that. Like it certainly feels like it has some of the DNA of Inferior Foes in there, but in a very different way. It like you have some very B-movie kind of comedy, but then you have some very played straight for laughs kind of comedy. For example, I think the last session where you made a big reference to the evil magician from the old Frosty the Snowman cartoon that everybody loves, and if you don't love, who are you? That was pretty great.
And so, I put the magic eggs into my hat. Abracadabra, to coin the phrase. And voila! The eggs have turned into... messy, messy, messy.
Yes. And that was something that came up more on the spot. Because another thing that I'm always pro... Before I go back onto that, I'm on a tangent something I loved it. I played it a lot in Inferior Foes, of course, with Looney, was a lot of improv. I'm a big improv guy, and I like to have let my actors kind of roam free, give them a little bit of playground. Something that I did was for most of the main characters, they each have a moment in which they get to tell a story. The story itself is written to be purposely basic, so the actor can like make it up. They can add little characters to it. They can just make up a story and have fun with it. That's something that I like to do when I'm a performer. I like to just create things. I like to make these characters my own and have little scenes and things. And I don't really feel like I get to do that a lot anymore. And because we have a bit more of a concrete system now, so I kind of bring it back.
Yeah, no, and I think
I understand. No.
I think it's really interesting the kind of direction you're going for this, because, like, the most surface level thing anyone could say about it is, oh, it's just a shitpost. But no, I can tell like you're definitely still trying to. You're not trying to like just make it. Oh, it's completely silly and nothing matters. Like you're actually trying to tell this interesting kind of zany out there story, and I do really respect that.
Yeah, because I mean, like I think everyone would know instantly if you were just throwing the most crazy balls to the wall kind of things you could throw in there. But there's a basis in reality before the timey-wimey, trippy stuff comes later on. And I think you did it.
Stuff. Yeah, and to get into that, this outline was written in a very unusual manner. See, most times when a writer writes an outline, they'll occasionally collaborate. This outline was mostly written entirely in VC. I would say it out loud. I'd come up with ideas and say, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? Or wouldn't it be funny if this character appeared? How can we incorporate them into the plot? I was basically spitballing ideas and like cobbling together a story. And then from that, I kind of wrote the outline from there. And the entire outline was written compared to some of the other outlines. Not to discredit anyone. The outlines could take forever. I know from experience, Jenga has taken over a year. But Dark I feel like took comparatively a lot less time. I think it only took 2 months to complete, maybe a little less. Which I'm not saying again. I don't want to make it sound like easy. Anyone could do it. But I think it would not have been able to get done in the time it did, or to the quality of what it is, without Chucky, Noah, Flash, and Looney giving me that support. They something I mentioned in the other episode, was that Looney's very helpful when we were writing the outline, because if I'd have a crazy idea, he'd be able to be like, all right, well, maybe tone that down a little bit, Mac. I kind of need that little bit of a leash. I didn't have that much here, but at least I did have Chucky be like, well, maybe not. But Chucky did help me. I'm not going to spoil much because it's still just starting, but there's some scenes that were a bit hard to convince some of the other people to get along with.
No, I understand that. I mean, like, everyone's got their own creative process. I don't think that you're necessarily hard to get along with, but, like, everyone's got different kinds of personalities. Like, if there's ever been any kind of, like, tension between, like, me and you personally, it's mainly just because I'm kind of, like, I'm like a piece of bread when it comes to like my personality. Like I'm pretty.
You're a piece of bread. What?
Well, let me put it. Okay, let me rephrase it. Well, yes, whole grain, because whole grain is objectively better.
Gross.
Proteus, hashtag Proteus hot takes.
Gross.
This is like a fancy French bread, but anyway, that tangent aside, I'm pretty upfront. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty muted when it comes to my personality. I tend to view situations in black and white sometimes because that's just how it be with me. And I forget that not everyone is like me sometimes. That's
why I was really excited to get a lot of people I got on board. Like, from the moment I knew that I wanted Looney in it, and of course, I'm not going to say, like, if he didn't do it, I would be disappointed, but of course, Looney and I are like bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
We just click in a certain way when we write together. We just know what we want. We know each other's material. We write good for each other. There was a brief moment in TMNT, and I brought this. I didn't think I said this publicly. I just said that the only person I trust to write for me is Looney, because Looney understands my certain unique sense of writing.
Right.
And I can definitely understand that. I think Looney's sort of I think with Mr. Miracle especially, he's kind of learned how to do it all. He's got a good range now. He knows how to tell really comedic stories and really serious stories, and even stories that kind of blur the lines between the two. So I can definitely understand that, and props to him, because I assume he has pretty big involvement in this one. Well, at least in terms of like his role, not in terms of like the writing, although I know that he inspired some parts with you in VC.
Yes. His role, Tapping Tommy, yes, it's a very good role. Some of the other castings, I chose this guy who's a bit unknown. His name was Darth Proteus, and I chose him to play the role of Namor. Because
never heard of him.
Yeah,
sounds cool.
It was taking a risk, but I think it paid off. It's gonna pay off. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but Namor is probably one of the more interesting characters that we have in the script. But jokes aside, we do have a member who is a more recent addition, who is in the project as the semi-main villain, the secondary antagonist. I believe it's called Server Master. Is that it?
It's either Server Master or SVR Master. I'll just say both. And, like, you know, if he or she listens to this episode, they want to comment and say, you know, hey, that's not how you pronounce my name. I've accidentally butchered Pwncake's name like 3 times, and I had to say I was sorry. So, like, if you want to flame any of us for how we say that, feel free. But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yes. I was surprised because I was expecting get another issue, but then I got an issue from this new user, and I was like, you know what? This isn't half bad. And now I see that on DCFS, they're also in another project that is coming up soon, Superman, which is also going to be really good. Yes, so once again, I brought this before. My projects, a lot of times, they feature new actors. Amazing Fantasy, the world-renowned Amazing Fantasy, was the first project of you, Proteus, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was actually the first project.
Was.
I forget I forget that was like the first thing that I was in. Not that I forget about Amazing Fantasy, but I sometimes forget that my very first role was playing a character that I only ever got to say like 2 lines as, although I guess I was able to channel that cheesy goodness for at least a little while.
Yes, and I brought this up, but like you, Johnny, I believe his first role was in Amazing Fantasy. Jovic, my good buddy Jojo, they were in first in that project. I believe not 60 minutes. That wasn't their first time there.
I get what you mean. Like it's not often that new users come into the server, feel the passion to audition, and immediately get a role. So we have to give props to Server Master / SBR Master for that, because they certainly did something that few have done in quite a while for them.
Yeah. And my Doctor Strange is played by Noah. Now Noah, once again, his first project was also one of my projects. If you're foes. That was an interesting choice because at the beginning I was like, you know, like I have someone I know in this role. Mainly because it's like, who's gonna want to play this role? It's a role that's like, it takes everything you know about a certain character and you're just like, no, never mind. And then you think, well, maybe it's like, no, it's not that different, but it was a hard role. And I was like, you know what? I'll make it to someone like Noah. Probably one of FFS's most underrated writers.
I would definitely agree with you there. I think he's certainly proven himself in quite a few ways.
I think so as well. And this will be, no, this is not his first leading role. That would probably, it's one of his first leading roles. But the casting for this went relatively smoothly, which was pretty good.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Okay, well, but
what?
yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, he said he agrees with that. Like, we heard whatever audio that was.
Well, there was audio on my side?
Yeah, we heard something from your side. I mean,
Okay, I don't
like,
know what
no,
that was.
well, whoever's editing this can just cut this part out. But
Just cut this part out, yeah.
so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we were talking about Noah.
How great Noah is. Green Meanie, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's potential with this one. So I will admit, like, he's taken the concept that you gave him and he's absolutely flying with it. The whole idea of just completely opposite to what the comics portray him as in some ways, but yeah, I mean, he's doing well with it.
This is something that I was considering, I toyed with, and I feel like this is kind of, in a sense, not a shitpost, but the anti-Marvel FS script. Because everything about it is slightly off. The trailer is slightly wrong.
Doctor Strange.
next year, you can finally catch the hat. And the cat who wears it.
Doctor Strange.
The casting images are not just slightly wrong, they're very wrong. The opening credits, they're off. It's always the same music track. The characters are not like the regular characters. It takes the subtitle of a film that no one liked, and even down to the announcements every time there's a session, we just slightly mess with the poster. So in a sense, I feel like it's kind of like the anti-FS film. It's sort of like a parody, almost a satire of the different things. And that's why if you didn't audition for this particular project, I wrote the auditions in a very specific way, because they were supposed to parody I can't think of, there was a certain project, I can't remember which one, for even the minutest of characters had 3 different prompts, both very complicated. Most of them irrelevant and had nothing to do with the script. I thought it was extremely funny. So I thought, what if I take these random, these stupid prompts and force my actors to write for them? Some of them included Namor teaching sex ed.
When I got that, I was just like, now how do I write this prompt without Chucky being able to like screenshot the Google Doc and send it to everybody to make them think that I'm some kind of creepy sex pervert or something?
Got away with it though.
Of course, there was a Nightmare doing his taxes.
Okay, that's legendary. Like, no one can fault that. No one can fault that.
And also because I felt it would be fun for like the writers to do something different, so just do an action scene. And of course, one of my favorites, Strange making fun of the poor and homeless. Just such a bleak thing.
Well, to be fair, I mean, that feels like something this version of him would do if he just had a really bad day.
Yeah, and that's the other point, is like, the prompts may seem ridiculous, but they also, I wanted to give you, like, I wanted to challenge my actors to be able to write something, some improv. Like these, I wanted to make so like, all right, so here's a basic prompt. I want you to go as far as you can with it. I want to see how far you're willing to go. Because once you go that far, then once you get into the script, you're like, oh, so my idea of outlandish wasn't too far off from what actually happens in the script.
So, I don't know if this is an apt comparison or not, but in some ways it sort of feels like making a heightened, extremely comedic version of something like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where the intention isn't necessarily to make you so uncomfortable that you don't want to watch it, but the intent is to shock you and surprise you, but in a way that captivates you and makes you unable to look away until it's already over.
Yeah, like if this was an actual film, I would want it to be shot like, I want people to be like, man, what is going on? What is happening? But at the same time, they are intrigued. They're very entertained by it, because my one goal in life, and something that I've always thought of, is there's not enough like strictly just fun and just good, not really just good time, just really good, just easygoing things. Like everything has to have like some sort of like subtext or a deeper meaning, which is fine. But I miss like this simple, fun shit that you can just sit back with your friends, just watch, just chuckle at, just simple, good fun. And that's something that I really try to hone in on with this script, is putting everything I can find, just making a fun script that I want people they're gonna enjoy to read. That was something that was very important.
I mean, yeah, and I that's a very important part. I mean, after all, a big part of what we do is, making things fun. Admittedly, that's something that I have to work hard at sometimes, because, like, when I write a story, comedy is something that I have had to work at. Like, doing something like playing Michelangelo in TMNT was something that was completely out of my comfort zone for me. So, like, for people like me, it's a lot easier to just tell what something I see as, like, something that's meaningful to me, something that I think will stir emotions. But I appreciate the ability that you have to just see the fun side of something and to just roll with it.
Yeah, and that was something that I really wanted to capture with this script, that, hey, we don't always need to have a big thing. We don't have to have a big battle. We don't need to have a big hero. We could just have a dude talking to another dude. Throw Dracula in there. Throw Pierce from Community as one of the main characters. Why not? Just have fun.
This is gonna end up being the Twin Peaks of our scripts.
The real question is, well, and when it comes to, like, obviously we're not gonna say anything about the ending but were you hoping that the ending would, like, the ending of the movie would sort of make people, like, surprised, like, fully hone in that surprise, or were you hoping that it would, like, sort of make them, like, I'm assuming you weren't hoping it would be anything like the Seinfeld finale where it was almost kind of hilarious how anticlimactic that was.
They just all go to jail.
They just all go to jail.
Yeah, so the ending of
nothing like that.
Without spoiling it, there is no conceivable way that anyone will be able to guess what happens.
Ooh, I'm gonna take that.
I agree with that because I've seen it and, like, legitimately, no matter what drug you gave me, I couldn't think this up if I tried.
And also because
can I ask one question? Is the color green involved in the ending?
Actually, no. Surprisingly,
okay, then I have no idea what it's gonna be. You got me there.
What do you think? Green Lanterns exist in? Oh, were you talking about Skrulls?
No. Actually, I was just talking about the color green.
Oh, okay.
And the other big reason is, I have not actually posted the ending yet. I have the actual ending of the script, but the ending that's in the outline at the moment, it's not the real ending. So I don't want the ending to be seen until I am ready for my actors to see it.
And here I thought I'd seen all the cards in your hand, and you've still got one up your sleeve.
No one's gonna be able to see it until the final session, until that exact moment that it happens. No one's gonna see it.
Although I've got to say, Mac, the process you talked about with the whole voice chatting and talking about ideas, that's honestly very interesting because while I do know we've talked about, like, just like, you know, a lot of the people in the community, we've talked about ideas over voice chat before. I've never actually thought of that while in the process of constructing a script, and I think that's honestly not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, and I can definitely see the benefits to it. It would certainly I can certainly see how it would make the process faster in some ways, because, like, the typical process, while that's how I prefer to do it, it's sometimes difficult to get people to give you feedback, especially when they're busy, because, like, even, like, it especially hurts, like, if you've spent days just, like, at the top of your creative game, and you write out that outline, and you're like, it's done, can somebody tell me if it's good or not? And then 2 days later, nobody said anything, and you're like, so did anybody read it?
Yeah.
But, like, if you're doing it in VC, they can tell you right then and there if you've got an issue, and you can correct it before it ever happens.
That was something that I always really enjoyed about it, is, like, we were always able to I of course asked for feedback, but most of the time I already had, like, 3 other people reading along with me, writing along with me. So most problems that they came up, they would already be pounded out before they even, like, I finished typing.
I guess if there's one question I may have for you is, how did you prevent things leaking, considering that, like, everyone involved with your VC thing more than likely is involved with something that's relating to the MFSU, maybe, but how did you prevent anything from leaking out, just in case somebody who wasn't involved with the MFSU might, say, come upon wherever you were VCing and might hear some details? How would you prevent anything like that from getting out too early?
Because I have very much different code names, much like Star Wars was called Green Valley when it was filming. I called it Porky's 4.
God.
So if anyone was in it, I'd be like, I'm just talking about my FS Plus film Porky's 4.
Pretty smart.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's gonna be you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
Yeah, I can definitely tell.
Definitely believe that. Is there anything else big that you want to say about it before we sort of wind down here?
No. I think I've said more than enough about a story about a dick who could fly.
Let's just market that for the MCU now. Like, people are like, I want Iron Man back. I don't like the whole idea of Doctor Strange. They're like, well, he's a dick that can fly. I mean, you don't want to watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta admit that would get like, even if they're hate watching, that would get some views.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming on to talk with us today. I know that this certainly meant a lot to you to make, and we look forward to seeing how it ends. It's kind of crazy to think that this universe started with Back in Black, and it's canonically connected to this film.
Wait, hold on. Let me check, because I actually never knew if this was standalone or if it was connected to anything.
No, like it's part of the MFSU, which means it's canon to.
Oh my God.
It's canon to Hulk. It's canon to Back in Black.
Well,
it's canon to
that's
Fantastic
awesome.
Four, Doomsday.
Well, the reason...
This man did it. This man made a Doctor Strange script that out crazies a Fantastic Four movie.
Well, don't forget, you will see later on in the film that there is a logical reason for why things are happening. But I'm not gonna say.
I bet there will be. Gonna be crazy. Well, yeah. Glad that we could have you on. I guess that's gonna be it from us boys at the FS on Air podcast this time. Tune in next time for what's new and what's happening here in the near future. Signing off, this is Proteus, and yeah, see you next time.
And I'll see you guys. No, I'm not gonna do the line. Sorry. I'm not doing it.
Toodlies.
Oh, and just a shout out to my buddy Looney. You can say that this was the podcast episode where we told the audience that if they had any questions, they could just ask us what dragon means.
Dragon.
These nuts. Ha! Got him!
Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Oh, I love trash. I have here a sneaker that's tattered and worn. It's all full of holes and the laces are torn. A gift from my mother the day I was born. I love it because it's trash. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Oh, I love trash. I have here some newspaper, 13 months old. I wrap fish inside it, it's smelly and cold. But I wouldn't trade it for a big pot of gold. I love it because it's trash. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Oh, I love trash. I have a clock that will work and an old telephone, a broken umbrella, a rusty trombone, and I am delighted to call it my own. I love them because they're trash. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty, anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Oh, I